Hey, what's up? A couple days ago, I made a video talking about how Meta Reality Labs, a division within Meta responsible for its VR products, had a meeting on Wednesday that was meant to be an all hands on deck meeting and the most important meeting in a while. How that meeting um, was likely going to be about a large pivot to more embodied AI products, right? Shifting away from VR products. And then come today, Tuesday, a day before Wednesday, they laid off 10% of their staff in the Reality Labs division. Obviously, I think it's sad. I think it's so sad to see a lot of people who contributed a lot to the VR space be laid off. I think there's also a feeling of vindication, or maybe just like it's nice to, I don't want to say nice here, but it, it feels reassuring to know, okay, I'm able to see a pattern and see trends in the industry and like, be able to understand what's likely going to come next. Even though saying that, I remember when I made the video, I was like, oh, this happened a couple months ago and this happened a couple years ago, and this is how it all comes together. Funny enough, in December, I think like the some vice officer said, yeah, we're gonna be moving away from VR products like uh AR, AI and body products, right? So I think it's really funny. It's like I just missed that crucial detail. So I need to do a whole analysis, but nonetheless, it's nice to know that I can able to see stuff and putting them together to see what's gonna happen next. Uh that being said, I think it's really sad that VR is an amazing technology, right? It's one of the best devices I've used. It's one of the most novel. It's like something where you can't really even describe the experience. Like you have to use VR to understand VR. Um, it's sad because I think it's one of those technologies that just didn't have a proper ecosystem to grow. I think it's not necessarily a fault of the developers. I think it's just a thing that wasn't naturally there yet. I do think there's stuff they kept done to mitigate it. I think the largest things for me as a VR user, in quotations, I'll get to that in a second, is that there was no content, and then the the ecosystem just sucked, right? When it comes to being a VR user, I think one of the best ways to describe being a VR user for me personally was Sora. Sora is OpenAI's video generator app. Really cool, really interesting. You can create a bunch of cool stuff and it's so novel and it's like so magical. But then after like the first couple of minutes, you never touch the app again. Right? And with VR, it's obviously more than a couple minutes, like it's a couple of days, weeks, months, maybe a year. But after that time span, you just never touch it again because like there's nothing else to really do with it. And I think that's maybe like the best way to describe it is kind of shallow, right? Like with all of these cool stuff, it seems like it's gilded, like it seems so magical and like on the outside, but like the more you look into it, like there's not much going on. I think with VR, I'm gonna reverse my point. So I'm gonna talk about like the bad ecosystem and like how there's no content, but I'm gonna do it reverse. I think with VR, like when you go inside VR, like actually like use it, there's not much going on there. Like even when it comes to like watching or experiencing content, right? When it comes to experiencing like comic books, videos, stuff like that, most of them were in 2D. Like I remember I go into YouTube, I'm like, okay, I don't they obviously can like I don't know if the technology was there yet, but like they obviously couldn't change a YouTube video to a 3D video. So what happened is that you go to a YouTube video, like you go to a YouTube app and you watch a video on a 2D screen. And then what sucks is that like it's not even as nice as watching in your living room. So it's like your eyes are hurting. It's the same thing and it's worse, right? I think that's how a lot of VR felt. It's like it mimics stuff in reality, but just in a worse way. I think that made no sense to me because the whole magic of VR, the whole thing that like gets me excited is that you can do things you couldn't do in the like the real world, right? So like even when I saw stuff like oh you could like build Legos in VR, like why would I want to build Legos in VR? Like something that would excite me personally, and then this is probably a multiplayer thing, so you'd have to find others. But something that would excite me is like more Dungeons and Dragons, where you can have like DMs build these magical worlds for their players. You can interact with them. It feels more personal, like it feels you're in the world. It can see cool things. That would be exciting, right? But I also think another thing, as I say, this thing might be an app that was like $35. I just never go to go and buy it because like I'm not going to waste $35 when I just haven't had a good experience with the console in general. But I think going off of that though, with the whole thing of not willing to take that bet, I just think there was no content when it came to VR. I think with a lot of VR apps, you just never saw anything that was going on with it. Like with I don't know, I can't speak today. With say a game like Marvel Rivals. That's a game I haven't played in a couple months, but that's a game I haven't played in a couple months. I've been busy. But let's say I have some free time. I'm like, okay, I want to play a game. The first game that's going to come to mind is Marvel Rivals because I've been seeing content everywhere. I don't play the game, right? So it's like, okay, in my head, I want to know what the hype is about. It seems really fun. When people are playing it, they're laughing, they're excited. I want to do that as I'm playing games. So to me, I'm going to go play that game. But with VR, there was no, I kid you not, on my Instagram, on my um YouTube shorts, just like the only social media I use, um, there was no content, right? Maybe Beat Saber and Beat Saber, like you have it, it's like it's fun for a couple minutes as well. But like besides that, there was no content. Maybe it's a lack of games, maybe it's a lack of people willing to make content for those games. But either way, there was just nothing there. I think that's something that really sucked because if there was, I would have used them more. I don't know. There's probably more and more reasons that like it failed. I know that I was reading an article about how one of the VR apps for one of the VR fitness apps, or one of the ones that they put into skeleton mode, which is a sense or maintenance mode, which basically means they're not gonna make any new content from it. I think that's similar to what I was saying earlier with the whole theme being shallow. It's like just another recreation of what you can do in your own living room in real life, and it's like what you think about this is just worse, right? So I don't know. Um, I don't think it's going to be something that's dead. I think even now, as they've done as they're pivoting, they don't plan to fully abandon VR. I think that's a dumb move. They have one of the best headsets in the market, and they're working, I think, on the fourth one right now. It's just not going to be their main priority, which makes sense. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's something. I think we're actually gonna see if I was gonna make a prediction. I don't know. I've been on a good prediction streak. If I was to make a prediction, one, I think Meta's gonna acquire World Labs. That's a startup founded by like Feifei Lee. They work on world models and spatial intelligence and stuff like that. So you can think about training robots. You can think about creating 3D worlds. And then two, I think with this whole pivot from I think with this whole pivot from VR more into embodied AI, VR, AR glasses and stuff like that, what's going to happen unknowingly or intentionally is that the bridge to a proper VR ecosystem is going to be built. I think when I think of VR, what excites me is the idea that I can pop on a VR headset and describe some magical world. Maybe it's the world of one Piece or something like that, and the VR system is able to recreate it with high fidelity, right? It's like able to mimic its details, like the oceans, maybe the art style, stuff along those lines. It's meant it can do very well, and then you have NPCs in the world that fully understand that they can understand the physics, stuff like that. Um, I think the technology to get there is something that's going to be found as we work on these AR glasses, as we work on more spatial devices. I think that's really exciting to me. I'm really excited to see it. But yeah, with the World Labs one, I think it just makes sense that what I've seen from Meta in the past couple of years is that they just acquire startups. I know this is a thing that like every big tech company does, but I feel Meta does it more than most. I think World Labs is a startup that like both has the talent, like they have a really great talent pool, but then they also have two things I think will be real helpful. I think if Meta wanted to work on more robotic devices, which it does seem from what I saw in a couple articles that they are interested in, then they have the ecosystem to kind of train those robots. And then two, I think it would be really cool for Meta, a content generation company as well, to have something that's like, okay, you can now generate your own 3D worlds, although they're not the best, and they can develop the technology like the 3D Gaussian splats world that I can't speak. The 3D Gaussian splats worlds that the World Labs does, I think it's just something that Meta could do really well with and push to a larger audience. I just don't see them passing up the opportunity for that. I just don't know any other startup that seems better fit to be acquired by them. Whether they would want to be acquired, that's up to them. I just think it's something that they've thought about. I think it's something they're going to attempt. I think that they're probably going to be successful with it. I haven't seen them fail acquiring a startup anytime in the past couple of years. So we'll see. We'll see. I think it's a time. I think it's a sign for me because I was right. But I also think it's really sad just to see VR going to some VR winter. If it does help, I think, and maybe I'm just making this up, but a couple months ago I saw this research paper about how some researchers I think at Meta were trying to reduce the strain you got when you use their headsets. I think that's something where now looking back on it, I think what's gonna happen with VR, besides like the whole like I can't speak AI and AR research development. I think what's gonna happen with VR is that there's still going to be like less attention in that field in general. But I think a lot of the fundamental work that has to be done is going to be happening in this period where it's like they have less attention and they have less resources. So you're gonna have to find a way to make it work. And eventually, when it comes to, let's say it's 2026 now, maybe 2030, when it comes back into the spotlight, I think it's gonna be really ready to fully shine. I think it's gonna be really cool to see what they do with it. I hope they don't fall into the same trap of just like not having content. But yeah, see though. Besides that though, I have nothing else to say. So have a great day.